Friends, before starting today's horror story, I would like to tell you a very interesting stat. 80% of our viewers who watch our stories haven't subscribed to our channel. And if you are one of them, you have to do a small task where you have to click to the subscribe button and also press the bell icon so that you are the first to get the notification as soon as our video arrives. Haunted Mansion. One evening, Sarah was on her way back home from a birthday dinner hosted by a friend. She was accompanied by her son, Andy, who was 12 years old at the time. Suddenly, as they were on their way back, they were surprised by an unexpected rain, which was quite strange during that time of the year. In only a matter of time, the rain developed into a storm, and because of the same reason, a giant tree snapped and fell on the road as they were en route. As a result of Sarah's recent shifting to the place where they were right now, with her son Andy, she was unable to recall any other routes that may have led her back to her house. A really beautiful yet big mansion appeared in the distance, and Sarah spotted it all of a sudden. The mansion had its lights on, and because of the same reason, Sarah assumed that someone must be residing in the home who might help her. When Sarah arrived at the place that she had seen, she was accompanied by her son. Sarah started with ringing the doorbell of the mansion a lot of times, but no one opened the door. But then, in a strange manner, the door opened on its own. Sarah walked into the mansion with Andy, despite the fact that she considered it unusual. When she reached the corridor of the mansion, she attempted to find someone to assist her, but she was unable since no one was able to respond to her calls for assistance. After receiving no response, Sarah came to the conclusion that the home must have been unoccupied, and the people must have left it the way it is right now. The mansion was pretty unusual looking at first sight. It was a bit creepy too, but as it was very late at night and both of them were very exhausted after the long evening that they had experienced, Sarah brought Andy to the bedroom upstairs and asked Andy to sleep and walked towards the kitchen to fetch some water. Even though Andy was really exhausted, he just could not sleep when he was lying in that bedroom. He felt a bit nervous inside the room, and while it must be because of being in a new place, suddenly he heard a sound coming from the cabinet. He got up in amazement and started looking here and there in the room where his mother had left him to sleep. Andy sat up and tried listening to the voice that was coming from the inside. Someone was calling Andy from within the cabinet. On the other hand, as Sarah entered the hall of the house, she found an old rocking chair kept in one of the corners of the hall. Sarah was really happy seeing that rocking chair in the mansion, so she began sipping water while sitting on the same chair. But suddenly, the chair started swinging on its own. Out of anxiety, Sarah dropped the glass of water she had in her hands, and she started attempting to get up from the chair, but then the chair started making its move by moving forward on its own. Sarah somehow jumped from the chair and fell in front of a statue placed in the corridor. Just when Sarah was struggling to rise up on her feet with the support of the statue, the head of the statue turned towards her. Seeing this, Sarah lost her senses. Her nerves started getting dried up, and she raced upstairs out of dread. Andy, who was seated upstairs, had begun becoming worried because of the unusual sounds that were coming from the cabinet, but his eyes wandered up to the mirror in front of him, and he saw a reflection of a lady in the mirror. When Andy turned back, to his amazement, there was no one to be seen, but when he glanced in the mirror again, his heart shivered. In the mirror, he could see two terrifying blue-colored eyes. It was of the same lady that he had seen just now. Andy started shivering while standing there, and just then she shouted extremely loudly and threw a very huge and sharp knife towards Andy. He dropped on the ground to save himself from the knife, and owing to the knife, the mirror mounted on the wall smashed into pieces. It was really terrifying for little Andy to see the mirror hanging just above him, shattering into pieces like that. Sarah came hurrying inside the room and noticed that Andy was lying on the floor and was sobbing. Little did Sarah know that what had happened with her son was very scary, and she was going to experience that herself very soon. Suddenly, the noises coming from the cabinet started again, but this time the voice was calling Sarah. Sarah was also feeling quite scared now. She couldn't grasp what was happening, but she had an intuition that this might be the last day when she saw herself and her son alive. She didn't know what was happening with her inside the home. She took up the knife lying beside the mirror and started heading towards the cupboard, but as she opened it, she yelled loudly as what she had seen was beyond anyone's imagination. There was a really terrifying man standing inside the cupboard who didn't have any face, and it felt as if it was her worst nightmare. Other than not having a face of his own, the creature's head was kept inside the box that he was carrying in his hand. As soon as Sarah noticed this, she couldn't process anything for a moment. But then, when she came to know about the things happening to her there, she grasped Andy's hands and started sprinting from there. They both were rushing in the corridor, when suddenly the corridor became separated into two halves. Sarah and Andy were in separate halves now, and they could not reach each other because of a huge separation in between them. As soon as Andy rose up to walk near Sarah, the half where Sarah was turned upside down, and Sarah tumbled down. Andy couldn't comprehend anything, and he was very afraid, but he gathered some bravery and proceeded towards the staircase to get below. The stairs, which appeared perfectly regular until now, started shifting their course on their own. Whatever was happening was very unexpected. The portion of the steps facing down changed its direction, and Andy was slipping to the same area of the corridor from where he had started. The same terrible guy who just came out of the cabinet was standing behind Andy. His body seemed as if it were made out of bones, but this time his head had come out of the box and been placed to his torso. In a fraction of a second, the lights of the mansion started flickering, and a bunch of bad spirits started pouring out from the earth and came towards Andy. Andy was entirely enveloped by the ghosts, and after that, the only thing that could be heard was his scream. The mansion had taken the lives of both Sarah and Andy. Now, it seemed that, much like the other thousands of ghosts, the spirits of Sarah and Andy were stuck inside the house. Whatever Sarah had thought of happening to them during that day turned into a reality, and they were together, but just as ghosts. But what is the actual story of the mansion? Who was the lady Andy had seen in the mirror? Who were all those spirits moving around in the home? And who was the man who had his head in the box? The questions will never be answered, as both Andy and Sarah had been trapped by the evil mansion, and nobody will ever see them again in the outside world. If you like the story, then do subscribe to our channel, Bloody Monday, and keep watching for more such spine-chilling horror videos. Please do share the videos with your friends and family so that we could get motivation for uploading more of such spooky videos. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our eerie, heart-pounding videos. Keep watching and stay brave.